Hey guys, this is Eve. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. This channel is dedicated to exploring various topics of the metaphysics, looking at them from a very occult standpoint. I'm really just, doing a video to actually promote a book that I'm writing, actually. I don't know. I feel like in writing a book, I feel like I'm gonna write something that people would want to, hear or want to read. And so, I've written books in the past and so forth, and I hadn't really had the success that I want. And so it was kind of funny because I was just bored one day and I said to myself, I'll write some erotica, whatever the case is. And it's kind of funny because I feel like the erotica that I'm writing, it goes along with my Lilith placement. And, my Lilith placement is in Libra. And so Libra is all about beauty, refinement, partnerships, fairness, justice. But I have Lilith here. And so Lilith perverts all of those aspects of Libra. And so when I teach the occult, I teach people, especially people who are what you would call the elect or the 144,000 or people who have Rh negative blood, the very small portion of society. I try to get a lot of my brethren or whatever what you would call it, brothers and sisters, into their Lilith placement. Everyone has a Lilith placement, and if you are a part of the 144,000, then you have potency as it pertains to Lilith. And so anyone who knows the what did you call it, like the mythology involving Lilith, knows that she was banned and shunned from society. And so they do that for a reason. They shun your Lilith placement because it's like bringing God into the physical world. So, there should be, I shouldn't say there should be, but there is a separation between God and the ego. The ego is a slave for God, right? But when you focus on your Lilith placement and so forth, I feel like it could be it could be wealth. It could represent wealth for you in many different aspects of your life. It could be healing in one sense, but it could also be, bad things or whatever. So it's you can heal or you can destroy. Let's just say that. Okay? And so, I just really wanted to kind of express my Lilith and try to kind of express my creativity. I've been through so many things like in the past month. Things have not been letting up for me, whatever the case is. And so I just say to myself, like, really, it's kind of odd because with New Age stuff, they teach you that you put positivity into the universe and, and that type of thing. And you put righteousness and you help people and you heal people and things like that. And that those things are supposed to come back to you, but they don't. And one thing about me, I don't really use my clairvoyance to really like, I don't know. I use it to help people, but I don't expect to get anything bad back from it. But really, in really going through, what is it, a state of, altered state of consciousness to really help people, I have seen nothing but like devastation in my life. Like it's been really crazy. And so I just say to myself, like, wow, but hey, it is what it is, but like I said, back to the whole topic of Lilith or what have you, I feel like Lilith is that placement that is going to really get you in touch with the deep subconscious aspect of yourself. And don't be afraid to really go into that, because when you're ascending, you're going to meet that Lilith aspect that the world judges as bad. Okay? So, you're going to have to be somewhat comfortable with it, because you've been programmed to deny an aspect of you. Okay? So I just want to put that out there, that I want to actually use this as a kickoff to read the chapters of my book or whatnot, and just to see what you guys think about it. Ever so often I'll stop at certain chapters and ask you certain questions, like where's the setting, who are the characters, different questions about the plot, symbolisms, things like that. To see, if you guys are grasping it, if you guys are really liking, my videos or whatever the case is, my story or whatnot. And the story is really focused a lot around it's kind of like 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, I call it 50 Shades of Grays, because, people are in the new age, they're all about aliens and extraterrestrials and things like that, and so extraterrestrials, they look human, right? They look human, but they're really not. Okay, they're really not. Extraterrestrials, or gray aliens as some people call them, represent people who have too much grace, right? Like in the Roman Catholic Church, they say your grace. Or when they're talking to what is it, like monarchs or whatever, they say your grace. And so these are very rich people that you consider to be the elite. And so whenever you actually have too much grace, you start to what you would call, quote unquote, degenerate. And so 50 Shades of Grey is really, the book is by E.L. James, right? And so it's kind of a pun because E.L. James actually is symbolically representing King James of Scotland. So King James of Scotland is the ascended master that governs all the souls in this generation, okay? And so, he has degenerated to a point to where his, I guess what you would say, I don't know how you describe it. His solar plexus is very, I guess would you say, off balance. So he's ascended to the mind. That's why I call it ascended master. And ascended master is a dead slave master. Okay. So when you ascend to the mind, this is death. So they're not in touch with the body. And so to get more in touch with the body, you actually resort to what you would call, the world would call deviant, a deviant state or whatnot. And so 50 Shades of Grey really represents that. It represents human beings actually getting to a point of a crescendo of ascension, that because you've ascended so high, that you'll do anything to get back into the body. And so doing S&M, things like that, is very important to doing, to getting more balance or whatever, You're not supposed to go from your root to your crown. Root to crown, basically life to death, life to death. You're supposed to be able to bring the crown and the root together to actually achieve what you will call heaven on earth. And so ascended masters, they have not actually mastered that particular, I guess what you would say, what's the word I'm looking for? They haven't mastered bringing the crown and the root together. That's why they wear crowns. They're more inclined with the mind. And so King James is a monarch. Okay. So, we've been taught that royalty is like to be admired, and, it's a privilege or whatever the case is. But when you look at it from an occult standpoint, it is, it represents imbalance or whatnot. That's why they have these Rh negative, blood types or what have you, because there's no balance. Okay. Or whatnot. So anyway, I just wanted to read a little bit from my book to you guys, and hopefully you guys really like it or whatever. If you don't like it, if there's something that you feel that I should adjust or whatnot, I would love to do that, because I want to write something that people like, and so I really do mean that. Some people, they don't actually accept criticism, but I'm all about criticism, because I feel like when you're trying to shop something, when you're trying to create something, of course it should come from you, and it should be something that nobody else can do. But at the same time, it should be something that people want to consume, and something that people consider to be entertainment. And so, in the midst of me dealing with all the shit that I'm going through, from theft to, I don't know, I've been going through a lot of shit. You know what I mean? I almost got raped. I was just like, oh my gosh. But I've gotten some psychic information in terms of why that almost happened. But, I went to Atlanta and I almost got raped. And I was saying to myself, like, this is not really happening to me. And I just say to myself, like, I don't know. I didn't know what to think about it. I said, I've gone through so much, and for me to actually get raped, I felt like it was like, added, something else added to my plate. What have you. I'm trying to laugh it off, but I really did think I was going to get raped. And so I just went to the mall and I was like, fuck it. I was like, maybe some retail therapy will help me, but the first thing I wanted to do was change my clothes. And, when a woman gets raped, she does not want to have any semblance of anything that's even reminded of that experience. You know what I mean? And so your first thing is to take off your clothes and to bathe and, that type of thing. And, I just feel like with my energy, I really do have to kind of release some of that, I guess what you would say, um, what is it, magnetism, right? Or sexual energy, whatever the case is. And so maybe through writing, that would be a good way of doing so, you know? And then I won't be a rape candidate or whatever they call it, what have you. Okay, so I'm going to read for you guys, a chapter from my book, or what have you, 50 Shades of Grays, like gray aliens or whatnot. So, and also too, just to kind of give you some occult knowledge about grays, because this is a big thing that's coming out or whatever in the new age. Um, the elite, they always put rhetoric out there to make you afraid, but a gray alien is just referring to someone that actually has a whole bunch of gray matter. So the thing is males have more gray matter than females. And so when you think about someone that is heartless, right, if you think about the two sexes between male and female, the male is the one that's considered to be more quote unquote heartless and more in tune with the pentagram or the 5-pointed star, which is what you can see, taste, touch, smell, and hear. Whereas a woman, right, of course we have these, sensory perceptions and we're sensual, but at the same time we have more of what you would call a third eye, or I guess you say an emotional body that goes into what we see, taste, touch, smell, and hear, more so than men. And so the more you're reincarnated and born into the matrix, the more of your emotions gets taken away, and you actually are more inclined to be with your five senses, which you can see, taste, touch, smell, and hear. Like a psychopath, like when they look at and they do CAT scans or MRIs of psychopaths, they see that their brain is a lot different or what have you. They're more inclined with their reptilian brain than the limbic system, which is like the emotional aspect of the human being. Okay. So I just want to read for you guys a little bit, and also too, as I go through and reading my book, just give you some occult information, you know what I mean, as it pertains to the mundane, more physical, superficial stuff that I'm writing. Okay, so this is 50 Shades of Grace. This is chapter 1. Okay, so I'm so excited to see what your feedback is or whatnot for this. Okay, so it says, I was on a plane to Vegas. As I boarded my flight, I saw my seat was 36A. I was happy to get a window seat since it's really late, like around 12:30 a.m. I could sleep a little more comfortably that way. It wasn't a full flight, so I hoped no one would be seated next to me. The flight was due to take off at 12:47 a.m. from the Hartsfield Airport in Atlanta. They were about to close the door. Then, someone boarded at the last minute. Where did he sit? Right next to me, of course. I was pissed, until I recognized the curves of his face, his rugged yet tailored beard. He looked frustrated at first until his eyes met mine. His pupils grew and became extremely dark. However, he quickly recovered from his surprise and amazement of seeing me. He was the middle seat. Someone else was sitting in the aisle. He did not acknowledge me, but he knew me in every way except physically. As he sat down, I could smell his cologne. He smelled so good, I thought I would die knowing through this sense alone I could never forget him. The plane was small, so our arms touched. I began screaming inside because at that moment I felt open and exposed. I thought to myself, how can this person have so much power from one touch? It was unsettling. So I took one of my absolute mini bottles to steady my nerves. You guys know I drink, right? I was paralyzed. I didn't know how to approach him. Then I thought of something. I asked him, how long is this flight? He looked at me in annoyance, stating, I don't know, you tell me. His look was intense. His eyes were piercing and penetrating. Master was whipping me with his gaze. In the back of his mind, he was recalling how his flight was supposed to be with his wife and kids, but it got overbooked somehow. So, here he was, seated next to me of all people. He had been fighting his love for me for eons, and now this flight would be a test of his fortitude and strength. Master held on to his penis. I mean pride. He relaxed the back of his seat and stretched out his legs. I'm usually a little uneasy during takeoff, but all I could think of was him next to me. As we reached cruising altitude, we were allowed to pull out our devices. Because he was such an asshole earlier, I took out my tablet and turned on his heart chakra video. I grew up Christian, so I began saying amen with every word he said that touched my heart. I played it loud enough for him to hear. Then he said, "I see you're a fan." He looked relieved to find a way to acknowledge me, because deep down in his core, he longed for my love, for my touch. I said, "It's not every day that I get to sit next to the most powerful man in the universe." I say this sarcastically, but every atom in my body knows it's true. It's as true as my existence itself. He smiles. His smile is beguiling. He is the devil incarnate. He starts telling me about his ministry and how important it is to him and people that he has touched throughout the years. About 2 years have gone by. 2 years. 2 hours. 2 hours have gone by, but it seems like 2 minutes. It seems being together suspends space and time like a drug would do. I ask him to pardon me as I get up to use the bathroom. As I scoot by, turbulence starts and I fall in his lap. He grabs my waist right beneath my breast. It's getting hot now, guys. I could feel the stiffness of his magical wand against me. It confirms what I knew all along. He had been holding back. When I got into the restroom, I sighed in relief. I never wanted something so badly in my life. I would have given up everything to be his for just one night. If the plane went down, I wouldn't want to be next to anyone else but him, and only him. I returned to my seat and I began asking him about his plans in Vegas. He and his family were staying in a villa at the Encore. I've always wanted to stay there. I began to turn green with envy for his beloved. As I come down to earth, I thought how impossible it would be for he and I to be together. With that thought, the pilot comes on the intercom stating that he is making his initial descent. I begin to sweat and panic, knowing this is the last moment I may see the man of my dreams. I tell him that I'm staying at Luxor on the opposite side of the strip. He rolls his eyes a little, as if saying in his head, "You're a peasant." Both he and I look as if the world had come to an end once we landed, for we knew it was the end. He and I were the last to exit the plane. He told me that he'd love me to meet his wife and family. Maybe our paths would cross again. It was about 1:30 a.m. in Vegas, right? Because it's like 3 hours behind. So I knew we only said goodbye with words. In that moment, I died 1,000 times. As he hugged me before parting ways, I slipped my phone in his bag. Okay, so now it gets interesting, right? When he got to his villa, it was late, so he tried to unpack quietly as everyone slept. When he reached into his small carry-on, he found my phone. As he picked it up, a sleek metallic green Samsung S23, it should say Ultra, but Plus, reminiscing about me using it on the plane. He saw a selfie of me on the screen. His mind started reeling as he recalled the hotel that I would be staying. He thought to himself, "Don't take the bait." As he walked over to the trash can to dispose the phone, something happened. He felt a small, subtle pain in his chest. That next morning, he went to breakfast with her and the kids, but could not eat. As his children played on their phone, he could only think of me. As morning turned to day, he could not breathe without me. He was being tortured by his own heart, and there was only one way to relieve it. His wife and kids went to retire at his private pool in the hotel, so he told them he wanted to go gamble a bit and check out some of the other casinos. As he boarded the Deuce bus down the strip, he felt in conflict between his mind and heart, between his heart and soul. As he entered Luxor between the pharaohs placed outside, he knew he was stepping into uncharted territory. He went to the receptionist desk and asked if I was staying at the hotel. When the woman confirmed, he asked to leave the phone there with her. She then told him that I was expecting him. Master became furious, for he doesn't like to be put into any situation. After all, he is master. The woman handed him the key that I left him at the receptionist's desk. He takes it and heads to the 22nd floor. He has left off the elevator and goes down the corridor to the last room on the left. He knocks on my door as if he is the cops coming to arrest me. When I open the door, in a t-shirt and nothing else, he begins arguing with me, as if he knows me, and he does know. I try to console him by locking my arms around him, but he looks away, so I turn to meet his gaze. He pushes me against the wall and I bump my head. At first, he says, "I'm sorry," but then he recalls receiving the key at the counter. "Look what you made me do." He pushed me onto the bed and binds my wrist, chastising me for the predicament I have placed him. I look into his eyes and beg for forgiveness, but he keeps on. Before I knew, he took me and took me and took me some more until there was nothing left to take. He wanted me to pay for all the love I had taken from him, and I was happy to pay. So that is chapter 1. And so I tried to keep things a little bit suspenseful. I tried to leave some innuendos in there and tried to kind of leave some room for imagination and stuff like that. But, it's just a little project I'm thinking about, working on. And I really want to put like a female perspective on like the 50 Shades of Grey, because I remember like with my girlfriends and stuff, when they were reading 50 Shades of Grey, they were like, "Oh, this is like so awesome." And so, I don't really read like that. So I was like, okay, whatever. Let me get the books just to kind of see what it's about. And I don't really like to read because I feel like a lot of, well, I should say I don't like to read literature or fiction, because a lot of people's depictions of things really suck to me. And the book to me really sucked. Like, no, what is it? Nothing against King James of Scotland, but I just felt like it was very male. And so males don't really kind of like, I don't want to sound sexist, but I feel like from male perspectives, like the erotica industry or the porn industry, like anybody who's watched pornography will see that it's not something that is very, I guess, whole, is more physical. You don't want to just watch something with people fucking. You want something that's mental, emotional, and physical, to really have that holistic approach. Whereas with men, they're more inclined with the physical and that type of thing. So it goes back to gray matter, and how the gray matter in your brain or what have you, as you continue to reincarnate, you're more inclined with the physical aspect of yourself, as opposed to the limbic system and the emotional aspect of yourself, and painting the physical aspect of our reality in a more sensual, emotional type of way. Okay, so I hope that you guys enjoyed, chapter 1, and I think I might try to do some live videos where I ask you questions about my chapters, and just to kind of see, where it's what you guys think about it, and if you guys really can recall a lot of the details, that are coming from the book. All right, guys. So this does it for me, and I will see you in my next video.